Got it. Good afternoon. I'm Jen Barbarak, the Executive Director of the Beale Regional Health Foundation. Our foundation's mission is to identify and address diverse healthcare needs in our community. We do this by providing grant funding to nonprofits that address health and wellness and work with local agencies to promote collaboration in addressing the health needs of our community. So before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. We ask that you do mute your mics during the presentation. It helps to decrease the bounce back for the presenter. If you do have questions, please put them in the chat, and we will be asking questions that are in the chat of the presenter. And then if there is time at the end of the presentation, you can unmute and ask your questions. This presentation will be recorded, or is currently being recorded, and will be shared later. So we'll let you know when the recording stops, and then we will allow for questions after the recording as well, if you don't want to be, have your question asked on camera. So thank you. Today, our partner is Sharon Regional Medical Center, and we're talking with Amanda Cusick. She is the Clinical Nutrition Manager at Sharon Regional Medical Center. And Amanda is also doing a health chat for us that will air on WKBN. I believe it started airing this week. Amanda is a registered dietitian, and she has prior experience providing health education. She's also a certified diabetes educator. And congratulations to Amanda, because in 2021, she was recognized as one of our Shenango Valley recipients of the 40 Under 40 Award. So congratulations. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amanda.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Let me get situated. Welcome, everyone. Okay, you should see my screen. I'm sharing it. I'm going to be honest that I'm using two screens and I have a headset on. I'm in the office today. I'm not away. So I'm trying to be mindful of my peers, my clinical team, as they are charting diligently on patients. So today's topic, we are going to focus on the nutrition plan for the holidays. This is actually considered a lifestyle seminar from my employer. I am contracted with Sharon Regional Medical Center, but I employ directly with Sodexo. Sodexo is the largest employer of dietitians nationally and internationally. So there's power with numbers there, but they create great resources for us to use for health education within our communities. One being this presentation. So with no further ado, let's begin. So our goals of the presentation, we're really going to focus on understanding how to approach dieting during the holidays, learn strategies to reduce caloric intake at holiday gatherings, acquire tips on how to enjoy holiday foods while still maintaining healthy eating habits. You will also learn how to reduce calories in favorite holiday dishes. So we are open to, Donna and I are going to kind of keep an eye on the chat. So if you have questions, please feel free to type them in. And at the end, we can unmute and we can have open discussion if needed. Okay. So with holiday weight gain, according to research from the Calorie Control Council, a typical Thanksgiving Day feast that includes appetizers, turkey, side dishes, desserts, and beverages can add up to be more than 3,000 calories. A 2-pound weight gain may not sound excessive, but hypothetically, if 2 pounds were gained every holiday season and only 1 pound is lost, this small weight gain can really add up over time. If you gain 1 pound per year, over 10 years, you'll find yourself with a 10-pound weight increase. If we do this every decade, a person can become obese over time. So we just have to be mindful that not all of the weight is lost once the holidays is over. And that's the bigger picture. So dieting during the holidays, it may be best to put your weight loss goals on hold during the holiday season. Actually focusing on maintaining your weight may be more realistic of a goal. It may be difficult to stick to a diet during the holidays when there are so many tempting foods to eat. You just may be setting yourself up for failure. It may be better to allow yourself some indulgences so you don't feel deprived. This will help you maintain some control over the food you take in and not gain weight. Also, don't approach the season thinking that you're going to allow yourself to eat anything you want during the holiday, because you can diet in January after the holidays conclude to lose your extra weight that you may have gained. So eating healthy most of the time, this way you're allowing yourself to, eating healthy most of the time so you feel you can have some splurges without guilt. Don't skip meals as a way to cut back on your total calories that you are consuming in a day. It's actually harder to control the amount of holiday food when you eat that you are going to eat when you are hungry. So the idea is kind of stick to a typical schedule. That way you're not going to overindulge or overcompensate for the lack of eating. During the holiday season, we also want to allow yourself to eat all the foods in moderations. That way you can, it's a way to control your calorie intake without feeling deprived. Consider choosing foods that you really want and leave the rest, maybe on the table or in the buffet. Enjoy the mashed potatoes, but skip the bread. Those are just kind of some generic tips. So overall, arriving with a plan. Start your day off right. If you know you're going to go to a gathering, whether it's at a family member's, a church, another social group, eat something light before you leave home. So before you get to the party. Also, offer to bring a low-calorie dish to contribute to the meal. By bringing a low-calorie dish you enjoy, you can feel confident that there will be something at the holiday gathering for you to eat. And who knows, the other guests may be appreciative that there is a healthy side dish. Before going, spend some time mentally visualizing being at the holiday gathering. Imagine the spread, so to say, on the table. Evaluate what are things that you really want to eat. Maybe imagine yourself enjoying the food without overeating. Kind of plant that seed unconsciously in your brain. Prepare for the food pushers who will try to force you to eat more. We all have a family friend, maybe a loved one that, oh, you can have just a little bit more, a little bit more. So practice politely saying, no, thank you. This is delicious, but I'm full. So that way you're able to be prepared for those tough encounters, so to say. So ways to reduce your calories when deciding what to eat. Look at all the food choices before picking which foods you will put on your plate. It's easy to go down the food line and fill your plate up by taking a single serving of all of the dishes that are offered. A better strategy is to look strategically for the foods that you really want, using a smaller plate if available, so it feels like you're eating more than you are. Cover a portion of your plate with lower calorie fruits or vegetables. I use the plate method where half of your plate should be a green vegetable, a salad, fruit, something. That way it will leave less room for the higher calorie meats, other starches on your plate. Load up your plate with fruits or vegetables before taking any meats and starches. Take just a small portion of those higher calorie items, again, so you don't feel deprived. Further things you can do, look for ways to cut back on calories when choosing hors d'oeuvres. Pick lower calorie items. So here's some simple substitutions. So shrimp instead of cheese, raw vegetables instead of chips, or those trail mixes, hummus or salsa instead of dips. So choosing leaner cuts of meat, chicken instead of steak. 4 ounces of chicken breast with skin roughly has about 220 calories and almost 9 grams of fat. 4 ounces of chicken breast without the skin has about 180 calories, 4 grams of fat. So you're kind of cutting things, the fat amount in half, whereas you're saving about 40 calories and about 4 to 5 grams of fat by just making that simple change. So overall, removing any skin from your poultry, choosing those pieces from the buffet, also using a vinaigrette rather than a creamy salad dressing. It's normally not the salad that adds the calories, it's what we are adding to the salad, the bacon bits, the croutons, all the other additives. So at the holiday party buffet, it can be hard to control your eating when you're given a variety of food choices. but by planning ahead, that's to your advantage. There's a good chance that you will feel satisfied after your first plate of food and never make that second or third trip up to the buffet. So overall, try to look over all the offerings to decide what foods to take. Try to build a better plate by filling half of your plate with fruits or vegetables, a quarter of your plate with protein, another quarter with the starch. This will put the emphasis on the lower calorie plant foods while leaving less room for the higher calorie proteins or starches. So notice there's a trend with what I'm preaching here. You also be mindful of if you feel like you need to go up for that second trip up to the buffet. So maybe have the plan of, with your first trip, take a third or half of what you plan to eat on that first trip up. Then when you go up, wait at least 10 minutes after taking that last bite of food. There's often a delay in the communication from our stomach to our brain and vice versa that we're eating. We eat with our eyes first, so giving ourselves a chance to actually feel that we're eating and that we're feeling the pleasure of the food. We're feeling that warmness in our belly, so to say. Also create that balanced plate instead of just piling up on food. Again, thinking of dividing your plate up. Sit away from the buffet table. That's key, because if you're right next to it, it's easy just to grab a little bit more, a little bit more. So let's talk about beverages. So on here, there we go. So looking at how beverages can add a lot of calories too. So being mindful of eggnog contains, so 1 cup, that's 8 ounces, contains 340 calories. I didn't break down the fat content. Figured let's just focus on calories. And calories are from macronutrients. That would be your fat, your protein, and your carbohydrates. 8 ounces of hot chocolate comparatively is only about less than 200, 190 calories. A 12-ounce regular soda, not a diet, but a regular soda, is about 150 calories. 5 ounces of wine, roughly about 125 calories. 12 ounces of beer, 150 calories. 8.5 ounces of margarita, 370 calories. So choosing these calorie-free beverages, water, unsweetened iced tea, or seltzer, making sure that you drink 1 glass of water for every alcoholic beverage. And just a reminder, a serving size for alcohol, it's 1 drink for women and it's 2 drinks for males. Next thing on here, so strategies for eating out. First and foremost, don't attack the bread bowl or the bread basket when it's delivered to the table. Same goes for if you're at a Mexican restaurant. The chips, they're the never-ending, I want to say appetizer that they bring to the table. Allowing yourself to just take 1 roll or a small amount of chips, that way you don't feel deprived, but rather than eating mindlessly out of the larger container, you're staying portion control by putting on a plate. Modify your meal order. So you can request simple tricks, such as asking for grilled chicken or broiled fish rather than fried, chicken tenders, fried fish. You can also request that your sauces be brought on the side so you can control how much you're using. You can also substitute a salad or a cooked vegetable rather than French fries. So start your meal off right, choosing a lower calorie appetizer, a salad, or soup to begin your meal. Broth-based soups are a better choice. I don't really preach that it's a bad choice, just better, because it's lower in calories with reducing the intake of the cream and other butter or thickeners. So the idea is by starting off your meal with some type of vegetable, whether it's a salad or this broth-based soup, this will help you fill up and possibly eat less of your entree. For strategy, watch your portion sizing. Consider eating only half of your meal and taking it home for the next day. You can also split entrees. I know locally some restaurants may add a surcharge for splitting your entree, but you know what? Then add an extra side salad. So then it's 2 meals. 2 people can often eat off of 1 meal at most Americanized restaurants. Be mindful, tip number 5, do not add extra calories to your meal. So being cautious with adding croutons, cheese, bacon, high saturated fat dressings. That's really the salad that's gone bad. It's not that you can't have these foods, but often when we eat out, they are very heavy-handed with the portions of these accoutrements, so to say. Last but not least, skip dessert or split it with a friend. If you do order it, you're really only going to get the most pleasure from the first 4 bites of that dessert. So by splitting it, you're indulging, you're enjoying it, but you're also sharing it with someone that you are enjoying spending time with. Next thing, try not to change your daily routine because during the holidays, we are being asked to participate in different gatherings, different times of days, different eating patterns. So if you can stick to purchasing healthier foods at home and controlling the portions at home, it's setting you up for success more so you can enjoy those holiday gatherings. And I say holiday gatherings. The first one for us is going to be Thanksgiving. That's one that we as Americans all enjoy. Into December and into January, we celebrate different maybe seasonal events, other religious gatherings, but what you can control is what you do day in, day out. That way you enjoy these gatherings. So following a normal schedule, what do you do in the morning? Do you wake up and have a cup of coffee? Do you go for a morning walk? Do you fast? Maybe you don't break your fast until after 10 o'clock in the morning where you actually would eat. But sticking to more of a routine, that's important. Another thing, sitting down at a table for your meals instead of eating while you are watching TV, you're mindlessly engaging in that TV program or doing other projects. So again, this prevents mindless eating. So sitting down. Also keep up with your exercise schedule. I personally am a busy mom, work full time. Exercise is on my agenda, but I have to fit it in other ways. I don't truly own a gym membership. I haven't in some years. I just don't have time. But when I do go shopping, when I go grocery shopping, I purposely will park further away in the parking lot. I will take an extra 5-10 minutes and actually peruse the store I'm in at a faster pace. So I'm engaging in a little bit more walking. So again, try to challenge yourself with thinking outside the box. How can I exercise without necessarily going to a gym? Okay. So when you are the host or you're hostessing, let's kind of change the tables a little bit. Planning the dinner to include nutritious, lower calorie foods like maybe a fruit tray or a veggie tray, or trying to broil some vegetables so they get that nice char, and even focusing on leaner meats. You are the host. You're trying to host and give maybe some healthy tips and tricks to your friends and family. So avoid taste testing while you're cooking. And I should really emphasize, you probably should be tasting your food as you're cooking, so you know you're not maybe unconsciously dumping in sugar instead of salt or vice versa. So it's okay to test, but don't eat the whole portion of food because each taste that you are sampling does contain calories. Having people serve themselves from the kitchen or sideboard instead of from the table to prevent overeating. Don't put out bowls or candy throughout the house or throughout the area because people will mindlessly eat from them. Next tip, don't keep the leftovers. And this might be a hard one, but really think cautiously. How long have those foods been sitting out, first and foremost? Unfortunately, with holiday gatherings, people may be arriving at different times. So being cautious with, is that food safe to even take home? After the meal is complete, are we actually putting those foods in containers and then beginning to refrigerate them? Or are we letting them sit on the counter where there's possibly cross-contamination, or even that they're reaching a higher temperature where foodborne illness could occur? So having unhealthy leftovers will tempt you to eat them. It's not to say that you can't take a slice of pie home for enjoying at a later time, but I would be mindful taking most of the entree home. Only making enough food to serve to people that you're inviting. Again, that's so you don't have too much left over. Being cautious if you are sending any unhealthy food home with your guests. Do they really want it? Are you being that pushy friend or family member? So if you can't give it away, then throw it out. Okay. So tips for healthier choices, so simple swaps. You may have heard some of these, maybe these are new recommendation. You could use fat-free or low-fat dairy products instead of whole milk versions. One thing that comes to mind is like sour cream. You can choose the light version, meaning it's a percentage lower in fat. And most whole milks contain 3.75% milk fat. So whole milk is a little about 4%. So if you do 2% or reduced, it's going to be lower than that 4%, just to put in perspective. You can also use lower sodium broth, lower sodium canned vegetables and sauces. I know some gravy mixes, I'm seeing them at the store that they say reduced. Reduced means that it's 25% less than the original formulary. You can also use whole grain breads and pastas instead of white refined flour. So they call it that. Those products are often enriched, but look for whole grain as one of the first 3 ingredients: whole grain, wheat flour, whole grain, semolina, things like that for your pastas. Use vegetable oil such as olive oil instead of butter. Really, I would say instead of corn oil or peanut oil. That's actually a better recommendation. Using herbs and spices to flavor dishes instead of butter and salt. Using fresh can add a lot more fresh volatile oil. So if you're using parsley, maybe splurge and get fresh parsley for the holidays. If you're using garlic instead of garlic powder, maybe get fresh rather than the garlic powder, and really staying away from the garlic salt. Baking, grilling, or steaming your vegetables instead of frying them. I'm a big proponent of using an air fryer. It's a device that's really sought out a lot of popularity over the last 5 to 10 years. They've come down, they're more reasonable in pricing. Basically, an air fryer just blows hot air to crisp your food up without using that oil like a traditional oil fryer would do. Big thing is looking for that it's BPA free, it's ceramic, that it does not contain Teflon. Teflon, when it's heated at higher temperatures, studies are showing that it's a carcinogen. So it can lead to cancer. Does it cause cancer? It's a factor in leading to cancer. So ceramic is best. Avoid Teflon coated appliances. That's your nonstick. Continuing on, when baking, replacing half the butter with your recipe in the recipe with applesauce. That's a good thing if you're doing any cake mixes. Normally that works well for your coffee cakes or breads when you're using applesauce because it's going to keep it moist. Instead of regular cane sugar, using a lower calorie sugar substitute. Splenda, stevia, those are GRAS, meaning generally recognized as safe. That's a whole other topic we can revisit at a later time. A lot of information out there, but honestly, if you can reduce the amount of sugar, it's worth trying. It may affect the texture and the end result of your baked product. So I would say try it ahead of time, do small batches, but it's definitely something you can read. Also read the side of the package if you're using a sugar alternative to make sure you can use it in the recipe in the desired fashion. Instead of whole milk or heavy cream, use low fat or skim milk. Low fat, again, I busted that myth about whole milk is only 4% milk fat. It's really 3.75. So if you're using 1% or 2% milk, you're already making a better choice there. Just be mindful, some recipes do need fat. That's going to give you a good mouth texture and appeal. So if you go completely fat-free, you may not get a good result, just being truthful. You can also replace white flour with a mixture of half white and half whole wheat. Good to know for like your breads. You can even probably sneak that in with like a good coffee cake. Maybe even start with a fourth whole grain flour and 3/4 your regular all-purpose, and then work up to that half. Using extracts like vanilla, almond, or peppermint to add flavor. You can also use essential oils. One thing I would encourage you to do is to make sure that it's intended and it's food grade. Not all essential oils are food grade. Again, that's a separate topic. We can revisit at a later time. So this is a picture talking about hors d'oeuvres. Just showing a little, I call it a B&B plate, your bread and butter plate, but it's showing 3 pigs in a blanket for 147 calories. one pastry bite for 70 calories. Looks like you got some cheese and crackers. I'm going to add them together. We're about 175 calories there. Okay. So in comparison, just want to be mindful that those little things do add up. So again, put your hors d'oeuvres on a plate. Be mindful of the amount that you're eating because those calories do add up rather quickly, as you just saw on that last slide. Some examples of choosing lower calorie options, your raw vegetables. They provide a lot of heart-healthy fiber. Fiber is only found in your plant sources naturally. Otherwise, you're getting a fiber powder added to foods. Again, separate topic, but plants will provide you fiber. Guacamole, hummus also are great options rather than a sour cream based dip. Dip raw vegetables rather than our dips or raw vegetables are a better choice compared to crackers and chips. Chips are often fried in oil. Crackers may have hydrogenated oil in them. Look at that trans fat on the label. Those butter crackers, it's not butter, it's trans fat. So an example, one large shrimp only contains 5 calories. Good to know. So have a dozen with cocktail sauce for a satisfying treat or snack. Stay away from that cheese plate because it's full of saturated fat. That's animal fat, also very calorically dense in calories. So I'm giving you some substitutions. Eat this, not that. So this is an example maybe of a better choice. I'm just going to kind of cut my plate in half if you can follow my cursor back and forth. So half of my plate would be some type of, looks like a sweet potato or carrots. Then we have green beans and then looks like a cranberry chutney. But being mindful, everything adds up from my choice of maybe an alcoholic beverage to cranberry sauce. Cranberry sauce is a little bit lower. It's normally the sugar that we add that adds calories. Focusing on our lean white meat, a little bit of gravy, got some stuffing, mashed potatoes. So the mashed potatoes, almost 240 calories. And that's just for 1 cup. So if you have your fist with you, your fist is roughly about a cup. Half your fist would be a half a cup. So kind of put it in comparison with what's on your plate. Looks like we have some cornbread here, also some candied yams. So again, just kind of looking and comparing how those calories add up from our appetizer plate to our actual Thanksgiving plate. So with turkey overall, you're trying to choose the white meat instead of the dark meat as it contains less calories and fat. You should take off the skin. It adds almost 3 grams of fat to a chicken breast. So the same would be for if we're eating a large amount of skin from the turkey. Adhere to the recommended serving size of meat. So a portion is just about 4 ounces. If you've ever played with a deck of cards, that's roughly about 3 to 4 ounces. That's a good comparison. You could skip the cranberry sauce. The average half cup of cranberry sauce contains about 200 calories and 52 grams of sugar. So again, it's not the cranberry. It's what we did to the cranberry, much like a salad. It's what we do to those foods. We add a lot of things to it. Next thing on here, stuffing. So focusing on stuffing, or we call it dressing, depending on what part of the US we're in, is meant to be as a side dish, not an entree. So 1 cup has about 400 calories. It's primarily bread. Skipping the stuffing altogether. If it's made with white bread, lots of butter, sausage, and pork, sometimes they're really doctored up, offer to bring the stuffing as your contribution to the meal because you can choose to make it with whole wheat bread. Basically, stuffing can be stale bread, so you can buy bread tomorrow and have it in time for next week's festivities. You can add vegetables such as celery and carrots, onions. It adds a lot of flavor. Also, you can choose to add low sodium chicken broth, even some nuts, just to enhance it, kind of mix it up rather than it being traditional, I'm going to say it, stovetop stuffing. So next thing on here, sweet potatoes. So again, it's not the sweet potato, it's what we do to the sweet potato. So a plain sweet potato or yam are considered a healthy addition to a meal. A medium sweet potato with its skin is only about 100 calories. There may be questions about, well, which is better, a white potato or the sweet potato? The sweet potato has beta carotene. It's what turns it orange. Also, if we eat the skin, it's a good source of fiber. It's personal preference. Also, a sweet potato, even though we call it sweet, it's technically lower on the glycemic index, so it doesn't cause a spike in your blood sugars necessarily compared to a white starchy potato. I ultimately give you powers in your hands. It's personal preference, what you want to eat. However, in terms of a sweet potato casserole, when we add calories and sugars from the candied versions, I want to say it's not necessarily a healthier choice. We're adding a lot of additives to it. So a fun fact, Consumer Reports estimates that a half cup serving of homemade candied sweet potato casserole has 187 calories and 3 teaspoons of added sugar. They didn't break it down just in grams, teaspoons of sugar. So just your 1/2 cup. So good to know. Next thing, when it comes to casseroles at your Thanksgiving feast, casseroles can be filled with a lot of high fat ingredients, often cream, cheese, butter, bacon. So you can take my recommendation, just take a small amount of it and fill the rest of your plate with other lean proteins, not a casserole vegetable dish. But first thing first, if you can bring those foods that are lower in calories, maybe bring steamed green beans rather than a green bean casserole. You're helping your family and friends at these gatherings because inevitably someone probably will bring a delicious casserole, but it's all about the choices we make. We cannot control others. This is kind of a fun slide looking at the differences in pies. So first one on our left is actually pumpkin pie. A slice of it contains 280 calories. Middle one is our apple pie, and it's higher in calories due to the extra sugar. Again, it's not the apple, it's the apple pie version. Because then we are also adding most likely ice cream to make it a la mode. So add another 137 calories. And then the pecan or pecan, tomato, the next type of pie. So we all have better choices as we look at those screens. Kind of wrapping things up, looking at desserts, a holiday meal often ends with a variety of desserts, a smorgasbord as we call it in my family. You can control your calorie intake without feeling deprived by looking. Maybe people are bringing a cookie tray, and then you have a nut roll, and then you have this and that. It's all about making choices. Can you share part of that dessert, that slice with someone else so you can enjoy a little bit more of something that really is catching your eye, or you're going to be pressured into eating too much? So again, pick your favorite dessert and make it the only one. It's hard. It's very hard. If you can't resist trying them all, take a small portion of each, but indulge in just a couple bites. Listen to your body. Don't force your body to consume the desserts at the end of the meal if you really don't have room for it right then and there. See if you can take your piece of pie, nut roll, pumpkin roll home, because most likely we're all stuffed after eating. So next thing, don't forget to exercise. The holidays can be so busy that we forget to fit in some physical activity. The American Heart Association does recommend at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity for at least 5 days per week. Doing the math, that's about 150 minutes per week, or at least 25 minutes of vigorous aerobic activity, at least 3 days a week. So summation of 75 minutes. So, and moderate to high intensity muscle strengthening activities at least 2 times a week. So overall, there are recommendations out there. It's up to us if we partake and encourage our bodies to remain physically active during this difficult holiday time. Some ways by getting some exercise is a great way to relieve holiday stress and burn extra calories that we are consuming. So take some laps around your local mall before you start shopping. There you go. You can do the same thing at a grocery store or Walmart where we live. Go to the gym on your way home from the store. Get out for a daily walk. We're encompassing some shorter days, longer nights. So I really encourage you to be cautious in the morning or after you get home from work. Daylight hours are safer for all of us because inevitably we have slick roads and sidewalks. So just be safe with walking. You can also take the stairs in your office building. Here at the hospital, we go up to the 6th floor. I struggle getting all the way to the 6th floor, but it always is an option. So gather your friends and family, run in a holiday race, take a walk after your meal, attend an exercise class several times a week. There's a lot of virtual options. We're participating in a Zoom call now. It's not to say that you can't use your phone or a laptop, an iPad or a tablet to prop it up corner of your living room, maybe in your bedroom. There's a lot of different options, even on YouTube. So different things that you can do at home. So in summary, excessive eating at the holiday times can cause unwanted weight gain that can be hard to lose. So it is possible to enjoy these holidays and still eat healthy. Pick your favorite fruits to eat and skip the others. Fill your plate up with half fruits and vegetables. Watch your portion sizing, especially on those higher calorie foods. Enjoy desserts in moderation. Remember that beverages contain calories too. Focus on the joys of the holiday season that do not involve eating, such as doing an activity, spending time with your friends and family. That's first and foremost why we gather. Just some references. And really, thank you for your time. I'm going to open it up to let us kind of talk and chat a little bit. So let me stop sharing my screen. Okay.
Donna, do you want to turn the recording off?